What is up, YouTube? I was thinking about starting a bit of a series for, I should have done this near the start, but I'm definitely going to start doing it a lot more so now. But essentially sort of like a documentation series on what it's like to play Wuthering with no healer, completely free to play. So pretty much max difficulty. Pretty much for the first part of the documentation. I don't know what to call it yet. I guess I'll call it episode 1 or like part 1 or I don't know. Something. I'm thinking I start documenting all my experiences and shit for this first video. I kind of go over the overall general experience. Now, without further ado, let's get on with essentially what I'll call the pros and cons of healing. Going over the cons first, the obvious one is you can't heal. So that already just brings a lot of shit to the old table, such as chip damage. Any sort of debuff that I get, any sort of dot debuff, any sort of small amount of chip damage I ever receive is permanent. Until I go to a resonance beacon, that shit permanent. So that already freaking sucks. On top of the lack of healing, I believe both of the healers in the game, being Verena and Bizy, both buff damage. Verena buffing damage by a metric ton. 35% attack, 15% overall damage deepen. Absolutely insane stats. I'm lacking that damage because I only run 2 people per team usually. That freaking blows. So I'm lacking in both healing and damage. So in a boss fight, I can usually, as far as I've done, I've difficulty 4'd every single hologram, and I've difficulty 5 Ixed. And I can technically beat the difficulty 5 monkey, I just don't have to do it. So that blows. And having a third member on the team just makes your rotation a lot more clean because you're not so reliant on 2 specific people. And even, I guess, if you have Verena, like, it's just a whole team-wide 35% attack, 15% damage deepen. It's just insane. And I guess if you count the turtle, 10% damage, if you count that. I don't because I get to use that, so it's just like an extra 15 as opposed to 25. Usually in a boss fight though, as I was saying about my holograms, I can only take about 1 hit per fight so far. I will say though, in Memphis and Huron, shit, Monkey too. And Ike's, okay, so none of them. Okay, so I just get 1 shot usually. And if I don't get 1 shot by like say one of their lighter attacks, which someone else would be able to heal, like one of their faster, lighter hitting attacks, someone would be able to heal usually. I am not able to, so I have to be completely on top of every single move that the boss can use the entire time. And to be honest, it's really fun, but that's technically a pro. It makes the fights extremely intense, and I know when I win the fight, it feels great. But that's leaning into pros a little bit. Keeping on the whole, like, most people have Verena. Like, if you don't have Verena and you're like a normal casual player, you're kind of trolled, to be honest, with your picks. Me personally, if I used a healer, I'd probably also use Verena. She's just that broken. The self-res she has is absolutely insane because there's multiple mechanics in this game that genuinely will one-shot you. My rover has 15,000 HP and she still gets one-shot even with the turtle buff. So the Verena self-res makes that one mistake you make in a whole fight essentially completely okay. Because usually how my hologram fights go is I can perfect the majority of the fight, but the second I make 1 mistake, it's over. So the Verena shit, the Verena revive stuff is, to be honest, in most gacha games, a revive is usually useless. Especially in Honkai Star Rail. Like in Honkai Star Rail, Bailu's revive is completely useless because if someone dies on your team, at that point, you're not going to beat the stage. And going on to sort of like the next point, on top of the no self-res and no healing and less damage. God, I'm so cool, am I right? I mean, I'm putting all these nerfs on myself. I got to be the best player of the whole game or something. I also cannot make use of a lot of echo sets, meaning I can't make use of the healing set, essentially. Which, the turtle is a very important echo to farm for supports. Because I'll go on, I guess I'll just talk about this now. But the echoes I put on my sub DPS that most people would put as their sub DPS, I put the energy regen set on. And half of the times the turtle is a healing set. So half the turtles I get are completely wasted and reduced to ash. Serve nothing on my count and they should love themselves like a sweet summer ant. So that freaking sucks. And not being able to make use of a lot of main stats such as attack percent or HP percent. Does Bizy scales off of... I don't look at Bizy really. I don't think Bizy scales off attack, does she? She scales off HP a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I know Verena scales off attack, so attack percent is useful on her, which is a useful main stat, which I've gotten a lot of attack percent and a lot of healing bonus turtles, which I've unfortunately had to just let sit on my account for funsies. I have locked them in case I become a bitch in the future and decide to use a healer, but until that day, they're just sitting there like a nuclear arsenal. I technically could have a fully built Verena now that I think about it, and she'd be really good, but that's another here than I. As I was saying earlier with the chip damage and shit from bosses, overworld exploration is pretty freaking dog ass, to put it lightly, because when you're traveling to overworld and you're traversing and doing all your stuff, any amount of chip damage you take from, say, just a little Jund Rock or a little flower that accidentally slides through is just going to be permanently on you. And at some point when you're farming echoes, you have to break your sort of echo farming loop and just go to a resonance beacon, which can sometimes be really annoying. It's not the biggest deal, but it's like, come on. I mean, it's the restriction I put on myself, but it does suck. It does suck. And sort of like I was talking about with Donjin, I can't use a lot of characters with their full kit abilities. So I've been considering actually using Sanhua instead of Donjin for my support for my rover, because I can't use Donjin's forte because it heals her. And it makes the sort of chain of like intro, outro, like the flow of combat, you know, it makes it really slow. Because when you use her forte skill, it's like half the intro gauge. Like, it's a lot of bar built up. So that really sucks. And it makes combat feel very clunky. So I'm thinking about using Sanhua instead of Donjin. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make. I know it'll make my Resonance Liberation not hit for 44,000, which is going to really suck. But I'll cross every joint together. And I cannot get rovers E3 and E4. For E3 on Havoc and E4 on Spectra, I believe they are. So I can't get those because the E4 on Spectro makes her a healer, essentially, a sub-healer that heals the whole team by her attack. And E3 Havoc gives her lifesteal. Now, there is like, I'll say it, there is a small chance that I allow myself to use E3 Havoc Rover. Not for the healing, but because Rover's my favorite character in the game, and I don't want to use her subpar. But then again, I also just want to stick to the no-heal run. I mean, I'm at like a crossroads here. I mean, let me know in the comments if there's like, if that would be too much. I think it would be too much, but maybe I do at some point. But the pro of that, the pro of having no healing is big dick energy. I win everything because I'm the fucking best, bitch. That's why every single fight I've ever won, not once has been lucky. Genuinely. You can go back and watch all of them. They've all been purely because I parry and purely because I get better at the game and I learn the boss and I learn the moves and I learn the parry timings and I'm just good. I know I am. I can say that with sheer confidence that I know I'm good at the game. And it just makes boss fights feel like Souls fights. Because instead of like say an Estus Flask you get to heal during a fight, you get a parry to give your brain a break. So it makes fights feel very, very good. And it makes my brain go into what I'll call calm overdrive. It just makes me it's a euphoric feeling. I would recommend someone to try it. Maybe, well, I wouldn't recommend it. That should drive me crazy sometimes. But the payoff is, you would think the payoff wouldn't be that much. And imposing, you would think like putting self-imposed challenges like that wouldn't mean a lot. But it does. It truly does. That's why I play every Souls game with no armor. No matter what class I go, no matter what build I am, I never go armor. Unless it's a for fun run. And I just want to beat the game or some shit like that. I just like, hey shit, call me a masochist, bro. That shit's fucking awesome. Another pro that I've got going for me that no other account has really is I don't gotta pull for healers. So I got my Calcharo, my Yinlin, my Jian, both their weapons. Cause, oh, and by the way, I would just like to say, I got Jian, Yinlin, and both their weapons in 106 pulls. That was the exact number. Is that not insane? Anyways, enough jerking me off. Well, actually, this is the pro part. Yeah, jerking me off. Dude, I'm fucking awesome. I'm good at this game. And my pulls are insane. And honestly, if you don't have all four of them, it's because it's a skill issue. And to be honest, I love the fact that Jian is brain dead because it makes my overworld clear freaking easy and it saves me time. And any character that can save me time, I will always pull. So, saving pulls for healers, great. I never have to pull for Verena. I never have to pull for Baizi. I never have to pull for any future healers. And the only character that I would genuinely need to pull for is a character who does healing buffs without healing. So just like literally a support character, not a healer, not a sub DPS, just a support character. That's what I need. And on the flip side of sort of the echo issue I had earlier, where the healing set's not useful to me, what's kind of nice is those echoes, surely when Kuro Games makes it to where those can be transverted, transmatted, transposed into mats? Transverted into mats. I'll have a lot of healing bonuses, a lot of healing sets. It's going to be a lot. So when they do that, it's going to be great. And I don't ever have to specifically farm for a healing set echo ever. So that's also a flip side. Like on the flip side of the bad, the good is that I don't ever have to farm for healing. So that's really nice. On top of not having to farm for that, I also don't have to farm for as many character mats because each of my teams is only 2 characters per team. So I got Rover Dungeon, Gian Mortefi, Kalchara Yinlin, Encore Sanhua. Those are my teams. The reason being is I've seen a lot of people come to my chat and say, well, why don't you just put a third person in there? Well, one, you could say if someone dies, just use the third person. I don't make mistakes. So no, I don't need it. Now, I will say it's really nice to save on mats. So I'll always keep 2 people in a team just because the benefit of saving on mats is so nice. So having to build one less character is great. The combo in combat is usually very easy. So it allows me to focus on my individual characters a lot because I don't have to essentially, instead of what would you go normally? Like what, sub DPS? Or no, healer, outro into sub DPS into main DPS, and then your main DPS has the healer buff and the sub DPS buff, and then boom, you go for it. And then I assume that's the combo. The combos that I go are Rover, outro Donjin, outro Rover, outro Donjin, outro Rover. That's the whole thing. And the combo is great. And what's another plus side to that is I get to use my favorite resonators more so than anybody else. So I'm going to say it. I don't like playing Donjin because I just really suck at her combo. It's a skill issue for me. I know it is. I know, gasp in the comments. Luhrow. How could you say that about Donjin? She's cool. I love mechanics of being able to lifesteal your health, but I just really suck at hitting her combos. But she makes my Rover do 1 billion damage, so I like her for that. And Donjin, it pretty much allows me to just play my Rover constantly. And like for anyone else, I guess, like Sanhua, I'm always on Encore. My Gian team, I'm always on Gian. My Kalchara team. Actually, my Kalchara team is really fun because I use Kalchara and Yinlin. Because it's hyper swap, so that shit is super fun. But always being able to use my favorite resonator, it just makes the game really fun for me. If I could, I would only use Rover in a fight. But the only reason I can't right now is because it's a sheer DPS diff, and I need that extra damage right now. So until my Rover is endgame juiced, I'm chilling. And to round it off for the old pros cons episode 1 of this series, the biggest pro of it all is I get to go in everyone's chat and spam used healing, run invalid. You're a bitch. I'm the best. I'm a Giga Chad. You a bitch. That's the biggest cup. That's the biggest pro. Also, I don't have to use Verena because Verena looks lame as fuck and I don't care about the story. To be honest, if I used healers, I don't care what I said earlier, I wouldn't use Verena. I would use Baizi because I am not a fan of that character's design. Don't know what give a fuck. Hey, she's standing at the edge of the cliff. Hey, bye Verena. Bye. All right. Thank y'all for this. Thank you for chilling. That's the pros and cons. I plan on doing more shit like this, but more so focused on, say, my boss battles. Maybe I'll start doing a thing where I do a boss fight and I sort of commentate over my own gameplay and say why I'm doing this, how I'm doing that. I think that sounds fun. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you got anything you want me to see me do as a no healer. And yeah, I appreciate you all a lot. And I'll see you on the next one. Love you. Bye-bye.